We know that police anticipated the arrival of this person that ended up dead at Cascade Middle School. Person came to the school. Police were, as China, as you mentioned, escorting him off the property back to his truck, and apparently that's when he retrieved a gun, and the struggle ensued, and he was shot dead. And yeah, I spoke with a neighbor, a person whose house butts up against the school property, Pat Moore, and she told me that she and her nephew had heard 5 shots, what they thought may be gunshots, and then soon after that, the school was flooded with officers and paramedics and ambulances. But again, Echo Hollow is the street directly in front of Cascade Middle School, and the main entrance, here's a live look at the school, and the main entrance is facing the south, and that's what you see there. And the actual shooting itself happened on the right side of your screen. If we panned to our right, you would see more of the evidence, the crime scene tape, and the areas that are still cordoned off as this investigation continues on.
And we were told that multiple witnesses saw a body that was under a yellow tarp, and we are told that there is a press conference that's going to happen very shortly with Bethel School. But one thing that we need to think about is, you know, the person who was killed is probably somebody's parent, and you know, they were probably inside all day just knowing that shots were fired. I had no idea that that was his dad or brother or just an uncle or a family member. So there's a lot of probably emotions going on when that child finds out what exactly happened.
We're standing by for a media briefing by, I believe I was told, the Bethel School District, and they may have some information to pass along. It could regard school on Monday. I would assume, since we have been involved in so many of these shootings in the past, that likely you would expect counselors and grief counselors to be on campus and able to work with the kids and parents and certainly staff members. So.
And then here's a live look at kids getting let out right now. As you can see that they are walking out of their doors, and teachers, it looks like they are kind of just heading them out.
So they're going to walk directly across this parking lot that you see, and now they're heading west, and they'll be ushered across Echo Hollow, which is the main street in front of the school, to their parents at St. Mark's Catholic Church, which is just across the street. There's another Christian church, another block or so down the street, but they will be gathering at St. Mark's. You know, the kids, I don't know, we don't know what they've been doing for 4 hours. I think that they said earlier, Lieutenant Jennifer Bills had said that they were going to, and Lieutenant Doug Mozan had said that they were going to feed the kids and make sure that it was kind of a normal day, as normal as can be. But again, maybe the kids were not informed of exactly what had happened. Some did not even hear what had happened out in the parking lot.
And then, as you say, as a normal day, as a teacher, you know, how do you continue your curriculum knowing that something happened outside of those doors? I think it would be super hard. But as you saw earlier, kids were coming out of that door, and I think this is one of the first shootings that we've seen at a school in a while where kids are actually coming out. They're pretty calm, and there's a parent there walking with her, probably 2 kids or maybe brothers, and they seem calm, and they probably are going to have a long talk about kind of what happened today, just to make sure mentally they're okay. And I know that there will be counselors, as you said, that will be staffed probably throughout the week next week. And again, we will go to a press conference soon held by the Bethel School District, and we're not really sure what it's going to be about. Maybe the identity, maybe not, maybe exactly a better timeline of what happened and what happened inside of the school when kids were locked up.
We have a video from earlier that shows it's a video I'm looking at right now, one of our side monitors. I'm not sure if we can play that, but if we could, it shows the other side of the school where the main entrance is, where this shooting took place. And we can get back to our live video in a second. Here's the video, and this gives you a better idea. So that is Echo Hollow out in front of you, the street. Here's the parking lot, and to the right, you see the gold truck on the right side of your screen. That is the vehicle driven to the school by the man who died, we believe. It's the only vehicle that is wrapped up in red crime scene tape. But again, there's Echo Hollow Drive, the parking lot, and there's the truck. And then even further to the right, you will see a large tree. And behind that tree is where the body and the tarp covering the body were spotted by our reporting team and others. and we were told by one person who said that police had told him that the suspect was shot and killed there, and we do not have that person's identity at this time.
And we do know that Cascade Middle School was not the only school that was on lockdown. There were a few schools in the area that were as well, high schools, middle schools.
Well, Abbott High School was put into a lockdown. Actually, Cascade was only put into a lockout situation at the time. Can we better kind of describe what the difference is between a lockout and a lockdown? Because I think we hear that a lot, but we're not really sure. Lockdown, I believe, is in or out. Nobody's allowed to go in or out of the campus at all. And with Cascade and the lockout situation, I believe it's just everybody's kept inside. For that's about all I know. I don't know the difference. But Abbott High School was in that lockdown mode for about 15 minutes only. And we learned fairly quickly after this situation happened that the situation was secure or contained or brought to some sort of an end. And that was relieving, of course, to the parents who, as you said, had showed up to the school, and to see Lieutenant Mozan talk to the large group of parents, probably 30 to 40 parents, and tell them that when he told them all the kids are safe, the sigh of relief, you could just see it, and then, of course, many of the parents hugging, and because, we have learned a lot, and, some, again, as you mentioned, China, not able to get in touch with their child and indeed have that clarification that they were okay.
And this is a live look at Echo Hollow Road. Parents are being reunited with their kids now. It looked like it has been going in floods. Not every kid was let out of the middle school at the same time. So kids are now crossing the road. You can see that there's officials there on the road kind of directing traffic as parents pick up their kids. But they are meeting and being reunited with their kids at St. Mark Catholic School, which is just across Echo Hollow Road. And as you can see there's some kids kind of walking home with their parents.
Parents or students that were going to be bused home, who typically ride the bus, they were going to be picked up at their normal bus location and taken to their various routes and bus stops. But they didn't leave through their normal exits today at the school. They were all taken through some side exits, and that's, of course, because of the crime scene that still remains and at the front of the school. And at this point, we don't know if that body has been moved. I would highly doubt it, based on the number of investigative teams that were going to be involved in this.
And still the tape is up. And again, there's roughly 360 students that attend Cascade Middle School that were all accounted for, and some of them were released early to their parents or guardians. And we spoke to many today, including Nicole Teeter. Take a listen.
It's been a day. I don't even know what time it is now, but we've been here since 11:30, and I was just able to get him a relief that everything's fine, and yeah, it's a crazy day.
And for you, being inside, what was that like?
I mean, you couldn't hear a lot, but the first thing that we heard was a few, it sounded like gunshots, and then someone came on the loudspeaker and told us that we were going into lockdown.
So when that lockdown tone came across the speakers, we spoke with earlier today Stuart Johnson. He was a parent that was at the school at the time, and he was in the back of the school, and he had described how he couldn't even hear the gunshots, but immediately lights were off, the blinds were drawn, and we also spoke to another parent whose daughter, it was again an 8th grader, and she described how they barricaded their doors. And I think that when she said that really hit me, to think that, my son, who's a 6th grader at another middle school, to have to ask him to do those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. That I want him playing basketball. I want him having fun and worried about math and science. I don't want him worried about barricading his doors, but that's why they do those drills.
Right.
That's exactly why they do the drills.
Okay, here's what we know. The first call came in at 10:27 in the morning today. Just to give you a recap of what happened, we were told it was a custodial dispute. So that happened outside of the school. An adult male had a firearm. We were told from people who saw what happened, and I think officials, that it came from the gold-looking truck. And there was a struggle, some sort of struggle between one man and two officers. And then that man was shot by police and was under a yellow tarp. And again, Matt just said, we're not sure if that body has been moved, if it's still there. And that's probably why students are coming out of a different exit than they usually do, because that happened right in the front of the school, and we know that kids don't want to see a body under a tarp.
And they did say the students would be leaving in waves so that they didn't have to try to usher 300 kids across the street to the Catholic school parking lot across the street. Again, we have team coverage this afternoon. We have Tyler Jones, who you heard earlier. Where are we going to go next? Where are we going to go next? Okay.
All right, we're going to continue to just be live at the scene while our reporters kind of get to that press conference and get more information from parents. But this is, again, a live look. And that's a door right there, as you can see that person standing outside of. That's the door that kids are being let out of in waves. And they are crossing Echo Hollow Road and being reunited with their family members at the St. Mark Catholic Church. And after the first wave, we saw many shots with KZI 9 News reporter Tyler Jones. He was out there and he saw parents crying and hugging their kids probably as hard as they could. And so it's been a stressful day for parents, for students, as well as teachers.
We were talking about earlier, so here's the crime scene that, well, I shouldn't say the crime scene. There's a large crime scene, but that's the Eugene Police Investigative Crime Scene bus. And so inside that bus, and there's the gold, or if you want to call it yellow, truck that's been the focus of investigators since this all unfolded. But the large bus there, it will be useful in collecting evidence and processing evidence. And what they will be doing is essentially, you've probably seen this bus out at various incidents over the years, but it's basically a crime lab, and they will use it to reconstruct the crime scenes and use all kinds of measurements and all those things that are involved. But they'll be there several hours likely, and they already have been. Again, this all started about 10:30 this morning. So I want to go also to a map that will also kind of help. You know, if we want to go to, well, you see there where that explains where everything is that we've been talking about. Cascade Middle, and then across the street and north is St. Mark. Across from St. Mark, on the same side as Cascade Middle, is Willamette High School and Echo Hollow Pool. So it's a very busy, congested area, and you can imagine the amount of cars that flooded that area shortly after word broke and news broke of this morning's shooting at Cascade.
And it's where they're meeting their parents again is at St. Mark. And all the kids, 360 of them, they are safe, as well as teachers. And they're probably reuniting at St. Mark Catholic Church because you know, they wanted to get away from the crime scene. And we're hearing that it looks like all the kids are finally out of the school and they are reunited with their parents, who have probably, I can assume, I'm not a parent, but Matt, you are, as soon as you get that voicemail or that message from the school that shots have been fired 4 hours ago, finally being reunited with your kids is probably the best feeling in the world.
The most recent incident we had was back on September 6th at Monroe Middle School, where my son goes to school, and that was difficult that morning, coming out here with Sean Cuellar and telling you what was going on and telling viewers, or making that plea to viewers from police that they stay away. I wanted to go down there, naturally, or at least get a hold of my son, and that's just that's our instincts as parents. But you have to let police do their job, and they do a great job. And one of the things I wanted to point out earlier, too, is as you see some of the live images from the schools, you may actually hear some laughter. We did earlier today. There's, you know, some just people communicating, and it's not making light of the situation. It's tragic what's happened, but a lot of times what police will do, and they were criticized for this at Monroe Middle School, and in defense of officers, they were trying to lighten the situation for the kids and not make this worse than it was. But you know, they're not laughing at the incident. They're not laughing at the situation. It's obviously very, very tragic and serious. But they were trying to put the kids at ease and distract them a little bit. And that's all they were doing.
Yeah, you don't want your kid to think what happened outside of the school all day. You kind of want to drift them off and then send them to basketball and have them kind of have a better
well, we
day
had
at
our
school.
talk, and that's one of the things we have to do as parents. We had to talk with our son and say, what did you see? How did it make you feel? And he said that he didn't think it was that big of a deal until they saw a police officer with a large gun outside their school window. And that made him feel like, okay, it's serious. We're getting off topic a little bit. That was Monroe, today's situation at Cascade Middle School. But, you know, I think the kids are all out of the school. We are right now trying to speak with parents, speak with kids, talk about the incident, talk about the emotions, talk about the agony of being across from each other, or away from each other for 4 hours. Are we going to be able to hear from? Okay, we have a 3:30 press conference coming up that the Bethel School District is going to hold. And again, we don't know what's going to be happening, but we will finding out in about 15 minutes.
And again, there was a deadly shooting today at Cascade Middle School. Just kind of wrap up what happened, but parents and students and kids, they are safe.
Yep. All right, we're going to break away and come back in 15 minutes for that press conference. So stay with KAZI 9 News for breaking news coverage, and we have all the details right now on our website at kazi.com. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.